Welcome to the Dice Tower, a series of video reviews about board and card games. Here are your hosts, Tom Vassell and Sam Healy.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
And I'm Sam Healy. Welcome to another Miami Dice with Nosy!
That's right. The intro is correct. Okay, so today we're taking a look at Dead Man's Doubloons. This is a pirate game. It's from Thundergryph Games. It's distributed... Thundergryph. Oh, Thundergryph is something different.
Yes.
Thundergryph Games. It's distributed in America by Passport Games.
Ooh.
And this game caught my attention mostly because of how it looked.
Yeah.
It was initially a Kickstarter, and I remember being excited because there was translucent ships. Like if you're a pirate ship, you know, you start as this ship and then you turn to a pirate ship. That's a really cool concept.
No, it is, yeah.
And it's pirates. And there's a lot of pirate games where the theme is kind of just there.
Right.
So that was what brought me on. I think that's the same thing for you, right?
Yeah.
Pirate theme.
I saw this at the press day at Essen, and I was immediately drawn to it because it looked so good. And the designer of the game was rather pushy and having me come look at it. But that's okay. I wanted to look at it because of how good it looked. So he took the time to explain it to me there, and then we played it a couple times, I think, and we're ready to do the review now.
Well, teach us how to play.
I will do the best I can. Let's get down to the table. Basically, everybody's going to start with their own player board, and you have a number of chits that are going to, discs, that are going to demark different things. This is the hull of your ship down here, so you have 10 hull, which means you can take 10 damage. You also have crew members right here, which when you lose them, something happens to you or your ship. Then you also have a reputation track up here, which will give you points at the end of the game. And you're basically trying to score the most points during the course of the game. You score points in a number of different ways, as you can see on this sheet right here. There are a number of different kinds of scoring. The black lettering here is the standard scoring, which is what we're going to go over today. But you also have different kinds of scoring with different kinds of modules that come in the box. So there is that. There's a lot of variability there, different ways you can play the game. Now, the game basically has two layers. You have the ship and your ship's crew that are sailing around the island, and they are battling each other in boarding parties and all of this other kind of stuff around the island. And then the second layer is your captain and his searching party or hunting party, and he is trying to make his way through the island to get to where the treasure is hidden. So during the course of your turn, each person is going to start with 5 cards, as you can see here. And those 5 cards basically have, at the very top, they have a direction that you either must sail, denoted by the black arrows, or that you can sail if you want to, denoted by the dotted arrows and the whitish color that's prevalent on it. And then it's going to have a 2 actions that you can choose from. You have to choose one or the other. You can't do both. And each person is going to choose 3 of these cards and place them face down. So then once everybody has chosen their 3 cards, they flip over their first leftmost card, and that gives them what they're going to do in this round based upon whoever has the initiative token, and then going clockwise from that. This black arrow, as I already mentioned before, means that I must sail forward 1, and that is something that I must do. If it's a dotted arrow, then I can do it if I want to, but I don't have to. But since it's a black arrow, I must sail forward 1. And then I have 2 actions that I can choose from. I have to only choose one. I can't do both. If I choose the treasure chest here, it means that it's a pillage token, which means I simply take a pillage token and add it to my supply. If it has a plus number here, it means it's an advanced action, which means that I can simply take, in this case, I can take 2 pillage tokens instead of only 1. The map down at the bottom here means that you can do a hunt action. Now, a hunt action means that you can do one of 2 different things, generally speaking. If you have 2 or more map tiles, then you can advance yourself on the island over here, one of the spaces. You would choose which track you want to follow, blue being the easiest with the least number of perils, yellow being somewhere in the middle, and red being the most perilous track that you can take, but it's also the shortest. If you have less than 2 map tiles, however, you simply draw a map tile from the stack that's over here, and these map tiles can do a number of different things. They can be simply another type of map section, or they can be special things like this one, where it has island lore, which means that I get to advance or exploit for free, and then this one is removed from the game. Or it can be something like a skull amulet, where I gain 1 reputation on my track, like so. And then this is removed from the game as well whenever that happens. But generally speaking, I'm going to simply hunt, which means I'm going to take a map tile since I have less than 2. And then that's the end of my turn. All the other players will be able to carry out their first action cards. And then it comes back to our second phase of the round, and where everybody turns over their second card, and then those actions are carried out again in initiative order going clockwise. So here I have 2 things that I must do. No dotted lines present, so I must move forward 1, and then I must turn about. Then I can do one of these 2 actions, which, for example, this one means that I'm just going to attack forward, which means that I'm going to attack the region that is in front of my ship, whichever way my ship is facing. And when I do that, I'm also going to roll the attack die, which may or may not add more effect to my attack. When you attack forward, basically every ship that is in the region that is in front of your ship is going to take 1 damage. So in this case, the blue ship is going to take 1 hull damage, as denoted up here on their board. And then I'm also going to roll the token, and this face means that they actually also lose a crew member, which is bad, because if you look down here, you have some different effects as you lose crew members. This one simply means that your hand size goes down to 4 instead of 5. This one means that you lose your ship's special ability, which is denoted right here. This one, when you lose this crew member, your hand size goes down to 3. And then when you lose your final 4th member here, you are basically stuck always moving forward. You will always ignore these come about icons. You cannot turn, you can only go forward. The other faces of the die are pretty simple. This one simply gives you a gold doubloon from the supply. This one is only if you are a ghost ship. It will add 1 to your damage that you're doing when you attack ships. And then that's about it. You simply have 2 crew faces, you have 2 voodoo faces, and then you have 2 doubloon faces. So that is the attack die. Now let's say I didn't want to attack someone. I might want to board, and that's what this anchor icon is. And in order to carry out a board action, you do have to be in the same region as another ship. And in this specific case, there are some icons that have a yellow icon and some have a red icon. This yellow icon means that I simply have to have played a card that contains that icon in a previous phase of this round. So, for example, since I did play a card that had pillage on it, whether I chose to do pillage or not, now I am able to choose to do this boarding action if I'm able to do so. Now, in this boarding action, I will be actually stealing half of the doubloons that this player has rounded down. And then we move on and flip over our 3rd action cards, and we carry those out. Now here, I have the ability to move forward 1 if I would like to. But you know what? I don't think I do. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it that way. So I now have the opportunity to do one of these 2 different actions. This is a repair action, which simply is exactly what it sounds like. I would basically gain 1 health point of hull back. If you're in a region alone, for example, if I were like this, I'd be able to heal 2 with 1 repair action. But since I'm not alone, I will only be able to heal 1. Or I can choose to do a broadside attack, which basically, if I'm in the same region as another ship, I can do 2 damage to that ship plus a die roll. And yeah, that sounds like a cool thing to do. So I'm going to do 2 damage to Voet here. And then I'm also going to roll the attack die again. Now, I also do have this thing right here, the River Merfolk, which is a tile which is going to affect this water region. Each of the regions has one. For example, here, your damage is only ever a maximum of 1 to attacks that are carried out in this region. Here, I can re-roll the attack die once per action. Over here, if you enter this region, you immediately sail because it says, upon entry, sail. So if somebody ever enters into this, they will just continue sailing over this way. And then finally, this one right here says, when attacking forward, you may target 2 regions away instead of just 1. So if I were fighting in this region and attacking forward, instead of only being able to hit this ship, I could hit one of the ships over here, or actually both of the ships over here. So I have the opportunity to re-roll this, but you know what? I don't think so. I think it's better to make them lose a card when they draw back up at the beginning of the next round. So that will be all I do here. They've taken 2 points of damage and they've lost a crew member from my die roll. Now, one thing that I didn't go over very well because I wasn't set up to do it is the hunt action, the other things that you can do if you already have 2 map tiles. So I do want to take a few moments to do that right now. So for example, if I do have 2 map tiles, I'm going to be able to either advance my guy over here, choosing which track to take, or I can exploit, which simply means that I will draw one of these landmark tiles, and then either I can carry it out, or I can make one of my other opponents carry it out. So for the examples here, let's say I choose to do the advancement where I move on these tracks. So I'm going to choose one of my different kinds of map tiles. You have different kinds of map tiles that are out here, as you can see here. And what I'm going to do is basically choose one of them. I have to choose the skeleton hand, of course. And myself and everybody else that has that map tile on their board is going to be able to move their captain forward 1. So I'm going to move forward on the yellow track here, and that means I draw a yellow landmark tile. Now this one says Pandora's Box. It says replace with a red landmark tile. Well, that's not good. Red landmark tiles are the worst. So I'm going to take a red landmark tile, and it simply says Cursed Idol, I take 3 damage. Well, that's not very good at all. We're going to take 1, 2, 3 damage on my ship's hull, and that is that. Now that will stay here, and if any other captain comes this way, they will also have to resolve that tile. I'm going to go the blue route here, and so they will take a blue tile and flip it over. This one says Whispering Portal. Enemy with the most map tiles gives 1 to the pirate with the least. And then the pirates with the least are tied, so we're going to go ahead and give 1 map tile to Voet over here. And now this one is there as well. Now, if I wanted to, I could also do an exploit action where I could choose one of these landmark tiles, and either I could do it or somebody else would have to carry it out. So for example, I could, choose one and say, for example, I could do this one and move your ship 1 and gain 1 hull. So that's a pretty cool thing. I would probably choose to do that myself, or maybe I would pick from the red, and it says give 2 doubloons to the enemy with the least. So maybe I would make somebody give that to somebody else, or what have you. So that's the exploit action. So whenever you do one of these map tiles, as long as you have 2 map tiles, you can either advance or exploit. Further rounds are played out in the exact same way, where you draw up to your hand limit, obeying, of course, any losses in crew members and losses in your hand limit that you will take in that first action. If I had taken the 2 pillage tokens and I had the most, I would be able to go first. I would then take 2 doubloons, 1 for each pillage token, and then if somebody else had 1, then they would take it. Then after that, we would check for buried treasure, and buried treasure is this right up here. If one of the captains has come up here, then we have actually begun to work towards the end of the game. Now, if one captain has made it up here, then the person who is on the mountain, or any number of captains that are on the mountain, will take 3 of these gem tokens randomly. If you are 1 step away from the mountain when somebody else is here, you'll take 2 gems, and if you're 2 steps away, then you'll only take 1 gem. But that will have scored the end of the game. After those gems have been taken, then our captains are moved back to our boards, but they're placed in this area right here, because now we're going to work towards the end of the game here. And by doing so, these new captain cards are now added into the game. And the reason these are added into the game is because every time a captain card is played by a captain, they're going to march 1 step towards the finish marker. And then once one person is reached the finish marker, that round is ending, and is ending the game rather, and the final scoring takes place as I showed you earlier, and then whoever has the most points is the winner. So that is how you play Dead Man's Doubloons in a very generalistic sort of way. Now, one thing that I did not show you, because I'm not a monster like some people and decided to just flip the board in the middle of the playthrough, is the other side of the board that's here. This is the one that we did the review on, and then this is the one that is out there now. I'll let you see it too. And basically it just gives you a different configuration of paths to get towards.
I like this one better, actually.
Yeah, this is a pretty cool looking map as well. But this is the basic one that you start off with. So there is that. So what did you think?
Well, first of all, components are unbelievably good.
Yeah.
From win and finish cards that are I like this size. This is the same size as like Jamaica cards. This,
Yep.
I don't know what this is
Very
called.
very similar.
Is it tarot size? I think they're smaller than tarot.
They're smaller than tarot size, but that's generally the idea that it is. Yeah.
These ships are also, they're like soft but hard plastic. They're so like when I first got the game, the guy said, "Don't be afraid to pull these ships out of this thing." And it works, right? I was like, "Oh,
Right.
I'm gonna break something."
They're not
they
gonna
just
break,
Pop
right.
right out. And then the little meeple dudes have the printing on them. Just
No stickers.
I don't think this is a deluxe edition at all, really.
No, it's
but
not.
it's. I actually have zero complaints about how the game looks or plays.
That is true.
The whole thing is amazing in that regard. Production-wise.
It is a fun game to play. It looks great on the table, and it is. The components are just amazing. That is true. Now, they're not out of this world amazing. I mean, you are still dealing with, meeples and stuff like that, but the fact that you don't have to put any stickers on the meeples is cool. The fact that they're already printed is cool as well. So I don't want to overplay it, but the components are really good.
Now, I will say that my only disappointment about these cool ghost translucent ships is they don't come into play that often.
Well, you still have them sitting out. Yeah, you still have them sitting out. So
You're like, I could become a ghost.
Yeah.
So the ghost thing is a neat thing, right?
It may not happen.
Basically, you've been eliminated from the game in a sense, but you can battle your way back in. Mm-hmm. I like that concept a lot.
Yeah.
In fact, it's almost cool. Like, if you're almost dead, you're like, should I become a ghost? Should I let people get me?
Yeah, right. So you just like poke the bear until they knock you out.
And I think that's good because this game definitely has a high level of interaction. I mean, I'm going to rob you.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this. There's this constant going after other players, which makes sense from a piratey standpoint.
Yeah.
It can feel annoying, I guess, sometimes.
Well, it's very strong Take That. So if you don't like Take That games, you might not like this one very much, unless you're a piratey themey kind of person, and you might be able to get into it that way. I know just straight Take That seems really annoying sometimes, But this one, along with the theme, it makes sense, so it was less annoying for me.
Yeah, I see that. I'm more curious what you think about the action programming.
Yeah.
Because you're not usually a huge fan of that.
I'm not, and this is one of those games where your program, so to speak, can get messed up because you could desire to move, and then something happens where they get out of there before it comes around to your turn, and now you wanted to broadside them, or you wanted to do a boarding party on their ship, and now you're not able to do that, so you have to pick something else that really doesn't help you that much. But that's one of the redeeming factors of this programming aspect, is that there are two choices to choose from. If the other one that you really wanted to do doesn't work out, you can always do the other one. And well,
right, you can never not do anything usually.
Not always. There might be a situation where you can't do that second action because they're also not there or what have you, but that's few and far between. And that's one of the redeeming factors of it, is the fact that there are two choices, not just one. So you're more often than not going to be able to do nothing. You're going to be able to do something.
Yeah. This game has a good chunk of randomness in it. Okay, from the die to the fact that when you go to those tiles, it could be amazing, it could be bad.
It could be amazingly bad, too.
Right. So I don't mind it. I guess my overall thing on the game is I think the pirate theme is really strong. I think the game is good. It's very light, though. But I think the mechanisms are slightly more complex than the lightness of the game. Set up for the game, there's a lot going on. You're putting all the pieces out, you're doing this programming, but then at the end of the day, you're basically just attacking other people and flipping tiles over and getting treasure. And that's cool, right? It's cool to manage your ship, to manage your crew. I like all that. That when we were being pitched the game to some degree, they were like, hey, this is a step up from Jamaica. This is between Jamaica and other games. And I agree. It is. It has that same kind of feel in some senses of that piratey theme.
Right.
But I don't know that the game still feels simple and yet more complex at the same time. And I'm saying that as a slight negative. I still like the game overall, right? I just felt like a couple weird things, like when you search for treasure, and I have this tile, and everyone else has that same symbol also. That's a little bit of a wonky thing. It just, first of all, doesn't make any sense thematically. It's just an odd thing to explain to people.
Yeah, it's another level of the game that kind of rests above everything else that's going on around the island. And I think that's where, because whenever you do that hunt action where other people are involved, it's like this all takes a break, and now we focus on the island for a little bit.
Which is cool, because, that's like the Treasure Island. I'm going to the island.
Yeah. I get that. But again, it is a little wonky. It kind of puts a clutch in the game where it kind of slows everything down. And okay, now we're back to moving and doing all these other things and shooting and all this other kind of stuff. And that's where it picks back up a little bit. So it kind of screeches to a halt a little bit, and you figure everything out on the island, and then it gets going again. So I get what you're saying with the whole, it just, I don't know, it just kind of gums up a little bit, but it's still fun.
The game also kind of screeches to a halt. You're like, blam, we did it. It's over.
We're
Let's
done.
Score.
Yep.
And again, that's not bad per se. It just, you got to be prepared for that.
If you know that going into it, it's not bad. If you're not really savvy on that at the beginning of the game, knowing that the game will basically end possibly one round after somebody finds that thing, because it's possible that one person gets 3 captain cards in their hand that first round, and boom, 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 they play it. Now, of course, you would only do that if you think you're going to be the winner at the end of the game. So there's a lot of thought process that goes on there too. But yeah, it can just go, okay, we're done. And you're like, but I wanted to do so much more, and you just can't.
My overall rating for the game is 1 thumb up. I like it. I don't think it's fantastic. But the game, the components are. It's amazing. Right. I think the pirate theme's strong, and I love the fact you can become a ghost pirate if things are going south really badly. It's like, wait, now something good's happened. You guys will regret everything you've done to me. I like the pre-program movement type stuff. That's always something I do enjoy. And I like a lot of the concepts. I think it comes together slightly messier than it should be. But I still think a lot of people are really going to enjoy it. So 1 thumb up for me.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. 1 pirate cutlass up.
That was
Was that what you were going to say?
That was lackluster. No, that was lackluster.
Oh.
I'm going to give this one Raging Volcano up. And the reason I say just one is because, you know, I was really excited about it when he said this is basically a step up for Jamaica, because Jamaica is one of my favorite games of all time. So when he said this was a step up for Jamaica, I was like, all right, I'm really interested in it. And then after playing it, while I enjoyed the experience, and I probably enjoyed the experience more than Tom, and I think we played it with Jason. Jason did not like the experience at all, but I enjoyed it better than those two guys. But again, I think it's probably going to fall right in the just slightly above average game for me. It's not a great game, but it's very fun. The components are amazing, especially for I guess you could call it a mostly unknown Kickstarter. Although over 2,000 people,
it really did well.
Did fund this,
sure.
But I mean, it came out of nowhere for me. I was not savvy on it at all when I saw it at Essen. So one thumb up, about a 6 out of 10 probably for me. I like it. I think you should give it a try, and always before you buy. But this is worth taking a look at.
Dead Man's Doubloons.
See you on the flip side.
Arg.
Arg.
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out Dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.